Hi, I'm Kesenya and welcome to Guiding Star Astrology. I'm your Astro Weather Girl, here with this week's Astro Weather Report. I'm going to show you how the stars are going to affect your life this week. In my videos, I use both Vedic and traditional Western techniques with tropical astrology, not sidereal astrology. I also use the traditional system of whole sign astrology for my analysis. You can use this video to the best of your advantage by listening to the introduction to understand what the week holds for you, and then going to the timestamps for your sun, moon, and rising sign to get a more personalized forecast for the week ahead. Astrology is not designed to scare you. It's designed to give you information so that you know what the good and the challenging energies in the week ahead will be, and you can therefore consciously work with them to the best of your advantage. Remember, knowledge is power. Now, there are scammers about, and so if you should receive a message from me on any platform requesting your money for a reading, know that it is a scam. Report them immediately. And now settle in and let's see what the astral skies have in store for the week ahead. Hello, my beloved friends in YouTube land. It is so delightful to be back with you doing the Astro Weather Report. You may not have known that I've been missing, so to speak, for about a month or so because I pre-prepared the videos you've been watching, but it's some time since I've been in front of the camera. I've been in Utah at the amazing Contact at the Cabin holistic retreat with stargazing by David Warner Matheson and breathwork with Brandon Powell, hosted by the Grimerica team. It was a fantastic time. You can check out the photos on my Instagram and Facebook pages if you want to know more about it. But I met amazing new people. I learned so much, got the chance to teach astrology, and I came away inspired myself for the future. So, as I said, check out the social media pages for Guiding Star Astrology if you want to see more. David Warner Matheson and I hope to see you at next year's retreat in Utah. Not only that, but I have a very special announcement for anyone located in Victoria and New South Wales in Australia. We are hosting a solstice celebration and day of restoration in central Victoria. This is going to include some really amazing workshops: spiritual balancing, esoteric acupuncture, astrological workshops, ancient mythological wisdom workshops with David Warner Matheson, my dear friend Peter Carter, she's being involved, and special acupuncturists, world-class events, all coming together to celebrate solstice. And this will be on the 24th of June Australian time. So if you want to join us, and I really hope you can, check out the details and the booking link in the description below and come join us to celebrate winter solstice in Australia. There'll be summer solstice in the Northern Hemisphere. But this is on the 24th of June. You don't want to miss it. All this amazing information and tools for balanced living coming at you for a very minimal price. So do check out my events page, and as I said, the details are in the description below. One final little piece of promo that I want to mention is this fabulous book that I've been gifted from the Expanding Reality podcast. This is from Brandon, who I had the honor and privilege of meeting at the Contact at the Cabin retreat in Utah. But this is a wonderful Expanding Reality gift to me, and you are able to access this if you follow the Expanding Reality podcast. It's basically a journal. It gives you space for episode notes, inspiration ideas, and obviously brainstorming pages as well, to work with all the spiritual knowledge and insights you can gain from the Expanding Reality podcast. So it's a wonderful tool. If you follow along with Brandon's Expanding Reality podcast, then this is a great addition to get the most out of each and every episode, to understand and explore your inner realms better so that you can expand your reality. So thank you, Brandon and Mary, for this wonderful gift, and do check out the Expanding Reality podcast for your a chance to get a copy of this wonderful, wonderful journal type book. Let's move on now and explore this week's energy focus. What is happening in the astrological skies? Well, there's a bit going on, but it's I was going to say it's all good, but there is a bit of a hiccup to begin the week. The 28th of May, we're going to have the Sun making a square to Saturn. So Saturn's in the early degrees here of Pisces, and the Sun early degrees of Gemini, both mutable signs, 6 degrees. They're making a square aspect to one another. Now, this square occurs twice a year, and it's not much fun. Most square aspects can be difficult, but if you've got benefic planets involved in a square aspect, it tends to challenge you in ways that you can handle quite easily, quite well, and usually come out with blessing as a result once you've overcome the challenges of the square. But these two are somewhat at odds. They're not friends in Vedic astrology, friendship of the planet system. Sun and Saturn are energetically sort of opposing. And if you think about the way the solar system is constructed as we know it, we have the Sun at one end, or in the middle if you like, and Saturn is the furthest visible planet from the Sun. And there's a great polarity, therefore, between the two energies and what they're trying to achieve and accomplish astrologically in our lives. So, when they square one another with a hard, difficult aspect like this, the challenge is challenging. So if you're feeling a bit constricted around the 28th of May, you're feeling like you could squish your confidence into a matchbox, let's say, it sucks. It's not a very pleasant energy to feel small, to feel like, you're not really at home in the world, that sort of thing. It's a sucky energy, but like all energies, it's cyclical and it will pass. We get this twice a year. We're actually quite used to it. So my advice for dealing with this energy of maybe lack of energy, lack of enthusiasm, feeling small and like even feeling a bit like a failure or a bit depressed, that kind of thing. If you feel like this around the 28th of May, allow it to pass. Observe this energy. Okay, I'm feeling lackluster today. I might take a nana nap. I might have a sleep, or I might grab a cup of tea and curl up on the couch with my favorite book and just let this energy pass by without getting too invested in the woe is me, my life sucks, it's so sad. Don't go there. Just observe it. Okay, this is the energy. Aha, Saturn square Sun. Right, I'm going to let it pass by me. So you might be experiencing a lack of support in your life. If you are, something my daughter and I love to do is we reach for our flannelette pajamas and a block of chocolate or, teddy to cuddle or something and put on a great film that we love to see the energy pass by. And usually we're, on top of the world by the end of a good movie or just a little bit of rest and indulgence that way. If you're in a situation where you're feeling like the waiting for something will never end, then maybe you might like to, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere where it's nice and warm right now, stretch out on the lawn, soak up some rays and wait with all your might and main in the joy of the moment, in the sunshine, or listening to the birds, or go get an ice cream at the park or something like that and just enjoy a waiting process, because Saturn is waiting and Sun squaring Saturn can put some restrictions around what you're waiting for. Enjoy the waiting process, perhaps. Essentially, there's no point in fighting this heavy energy. The only way out to deal with this is to dance with the Saturn-Sun square and to practice acceptance, practice patience, practice stoicism. Endurance is the name of this game, and find your best way to endure and be present in that. And before you know it, it's going to be done and dusted for another 6 months until it occurs again. As I said, it's a twice annual occurrence to have Sun square Saturn. So that's the 28th of May. Then on the 3rd of June, we have a lovely energy. So that's the beginning of the week. By the end of the week, things are going to be really starting to feel good. Venus is going to trine Neptune. So here is Neptune at the latter degrees of Pisces, a water sign, and Venus at the latter degree, Neptune at the latter degrees of Pisces, Venus at the latter degrees of Cancer, 27 degrees. They are trining one another, which a trine has the energy of Jupiter. It's expansive, it's easy, it feels in the flow. So hello beauty, this is a glorious transit, and it arrives to give us divine love, emotional fulfillment, empathy, and we find that our lives are more full of personal connections that support us around this time. So you can look at this energy on June the 3rd or the day before or the day after, when we'll be feeling into this energy unfolding. Very delightful indeed. Now, some people under this energy who's got things appropriately being triggered in their chart, some people could fall in love under this transit. Now, when I say fall in love, that might be fall in love with a new partner, or fall in love with your current partner, but it could be that you fall in love with a brand new pet, or you find a pair of shoes and you're just like, oh my gosh, they're just like the shoes I've been looking for my wedding or whatever, and you have this energy of, I love this. I want to experience more of this. I desire more of this. Venus is a planet of desire. And so that's what the energy is all about. We actually have some joy in the desiring, and some satisfaction in the desiring. We can also experience a great deal more tenderness, and some of you might have a bit more romance on the cards with your partners around June the 3rd. But whatever the case, our ability to feel comfortable with other people is enhanced under this energy. Our intuition can be enhanced. Neptune's a highly psychic planet in its home sign, Pisces. And I'll just mention on that topic, it's only in Pisces once every 160 years. Pisces and Neptune are very similar energetically. This is the only time in your current lifetime that you will experience Venus, get my words out, Neptune in Pisces. It's going to be leaving Pisces in the next couple of years. So we are making the most of this highly attuned, highly sensitized, in the most beautiful psychic and intuitive way, Neptune in Pisces. And this Venus trine is going to enhance that energy. So our intuition will be increased. We feel inspired. We feel more uplifted. We feel calmer and at peace and in flow with life under this energy on June the 3rd, unless you've got something else happening in your chart that could give you a bit of upheaval. But for most of us, this is what's going to be unfolding. I would suggest under this energy, trust your intuition and your judgments on this day, June the 3rd. It will be more on point. It will be more directed by your gut instinct, and therefore you can trust it, your choices, your judgments, and feel free to indulge a little in love. You know, this includes self-love in whatever ways might enhance and bring more delight into your life. How can you love the self more, honor the self more, pleasure yourself more? There are many, many ways that we can do that, obviously. Now, the final thing that I want to talk about before we move on to the all signs breakdown is the fact that Venus is currently out of bounds. Venus has been out of bounds, which means beyond the realm that is governed by the sun. So using declinations beyond the declination of 23 degrees from the equator. Venus has been beyond the declination of 23 degrees north or south of the equator since April the 18th. And she is going to remain so until June the 1st. So this is her final week being beyond the declination of 23 degrees from the equator, which is the sun's governance, essentially. When a planet is out of bounds in astrology, it is beyond the governance of the sun, the realm of the sun. The sun is consistent, and the sun moves between approximately 23 degrees south of the equator and 23 degrees north of the equator every year, up and down consistently without variance. Sometimes the planets move beyond that realm that is governed by the sun, and when they do, that's what we call out of bounds. And when a planet is out of bounds in astrology, it's a wild card. It's a bit erratic. It can behave unexpectedly in our lives. So think back over this period when Venus has been out of bounds. What's been going on with Venus-ruled things? Love, money, relationships, the good things of life, the pleasures, the indulgences, the stuff that is ruled by Venus. I'm going to talk now about the positives of a Venus out of bounds and the negatives of a Venus out of bounds. And you might like to consider, has any of this been manifesting in your life in any way since the 18th of April? Well, it's reaching its culmination and its wrapping up phase this week. So let's talk positive first. In the positive, a Venus out of bounds can see you suddenly involved or getting involved in unusual romantic relationships or romantic situations that you might not ordinarily experience. It can see you taking financial risks that can either bring you a sudden fortune or can bring you because it's a wild card and a bit erratic, it can bring you into sort of a bit of financial disappointment. But you might be more inclined during Venus out of bounds phase to take a risk with your finances in some way. You might also, it's worth keeping an ideas book or a dream book, as I do. You might find that there are some sort of, you get a new financial idea and a new financial resource that you can utilize going forward beyond this out of bounds phase. You might also find that the value of your assets can suddenly skyrocket, can just shoot off. So if you've got investments and they go really well, that's probably Venus out of bounds doing something for you. If you work in Venus-ruled industries like fashion or beauty, maybe you're a beautician or a hairdresser, fashion designer, you might experience or might have experienced some sudden changes occurring in your life, in your career, but they're usually going to be for the good when Venus is out of bounds, if you're ruled by Venus in terms of what you do career-wise. You might have experienced some cutting-edge technological advances if you work in areas of design, art, music, as I said, the beauty industry and the fashion industry as well, that you might suddenly have got some new, technological piece of equipment to help you do your work. That can happen while Venus is out of bounds too. You might have some sudden diplomatic insights that give you a leading edge with a relationship that you're in or a financial situation that you're in. So you get wisdom regarding Venus things. These are the positive expressions. You might have made some new business contracts or new business partnerships that are stirring things up, but they're introducing to your business some very new, and wonderful ideas and opportunities for you. As I said earlier, sudden and exciting and unusual love affairs can come while Venus is out of bounds, and they come out of nowhere. You didn't see it coming. All of a sudden there's somebody new in your life, and a month ago you were like, oh, woe is me, I hate being single. And your life can turn around 180 degrees suddenly in that regard. You can also have a lot of happy times with your female friends because Venus is women, especially young women. So you might have some good times with your female friends doing unusual things, fun things, or socializing in general with some sort of an unusual or eclectic type crowd. And indeed, that's what I was doing while Venus was out of bounds. I was at the Contact at the Cabins retreat in Utah, which was with a crowd of people that I would ordinarily not have interacted with. Unusual, eclectic people, but really beautiful people. Beautiful hearts, beautiful souls. And that was very much Venus out of bounds kind of energy in my life. If you're studying art, design, fashion, it's a time when you can really break the mold. You could even, some of you who are working in these fields and have the right other triggers happening in your astrology chart, you might become famous under this energy if you're working in those fields. You might, because out of bounds energies carry the energy of Uranus in them. There's a Uranian-Venus combination when Venus is out of bounds. You might be rebelling against the idea of what is beautiful. So you change your appearance and your fashion from something conventional to something experimentative. Still beautiful, still gorgeous, but very different, very unusual from your usual style and look. You might have some new inspirations with some revolutionary or unusual entertainment ideas. Perhaps you're exploring subcultures that you wouldn't usually explore and getting involved in their fashion or their music and that kind of thing. Some people might find that an exciting female comes into their life. That can be in the form of a friend. It can be in the form of a lover. If you're looking for a female lover, that can happen. You can awaken more to the idea of universal love. Universal love, enduring relationships in a more embracing way, getting along with others. You can see that what I'm describing here is very Venus combined with Uranus type positive energy. You might also have found over the last month or so that you have been invited to attend sort of very electrifying social events or being involved in some sort of unusual, quirky, creative social event in some way. There's a revolutionizing of how we relate and connect to others while Venus is out of bounds. You can be very drawn to metaphysical studies. You might even start looking into astrology. the Uranus energy rules astrology, and Venus can really give you, Venus represents what we love, and so when Venus is out of bounds, we can find that we love astrology and other metaphysical subjects, so we might develop an interest there. We can be very magnetic and compelling to other people. We can progress to new levels in our existing relationship. We can really step into our authenticity and our truth with relationship when Venus goes out of bounds. And we can also change our investment strategies and our strategies for financial success when Venus is out of bounds too. And it often brings, as I said, positive results. So that's the positive in a nutshell, a very quick but rather expansive there nutshell. That is Venus out of bounds. Now, as you can see, I described when I was talking about Sun and squaring Saturn, we've got one end of the visible planet's Sun to the other end, Saturn. Once you go beyond Saturn, you're entering into the invisible planet realm, which is Uranus, then Neptune, and then Pluto. Now, isn't it interesting that once a planet moves beyond the boundary of the Sun and goes out of bounds, it then takes on an energy of Uranus. Uranus combined with the planet that's out of bounds. Because beyond the Sun, beyond the visible, beyond the sunlight illuminating what we can see from our vantage point on Earth, we get to then Uranus. Uranus is the next in governance beyond the Sun. So this, I hope I'm explaining this clearly to help you understand why it is that once a planet moves into an out of bounds state, it's got an energy of Uranus about it. Uranus is the next governing body in the solar system beyond what is visible, beyond what is illuminated by the Sun. So that's why. Let's look now, just to sum up this section on out of bounds Venus, let's look at some of the negative expressions which you might have experienced during this time as well. So you might have had a bit of stress to your nervous system coming from a relational situation, a relational experience. So you might have felt a bit emotionally overwhelmed, or overwhelmed just overwhelmed in general by a relational situation because Venus is currently out of bounds. You might be finding that your money has really been on a roller coaster in the negative sense, because that Venus-Uranus type energy is very erratic. The Uranus energy rules electricity, and what happens when you're flicking the light switch on, off, on, off, on, off, you're getting this sort of instantaneous but very erratic kind of response. Uranus also rules roller coasters, so no surprises. Money can go up, the money can come down during a Venus out of bounds period. I've certainly felt that myself over the last month or so, but it's all been for the good. In the end, having spent on wonderful experiences and memories that I will cherish forever. We can also find that when Venus is out of bounds in the negative, our partners can act irrationally and out of character, and partners might be feeling more of a need for freedom. Like they might be feeling more claustrophobic and leave me alone, and I want to do my thing and I need my independence. We've been going through this since the 14th of April, but in this final week of Venus out of bounds, be honoring of that. Give space where it's needed, because it's not going to be this way forever. This is a cycle, and it will conclude on the 1st of June. So give your partner space if they're needing it, or take time for yourself if you're needing space in a relationship as well. You might also find that your partner is somehow going through a massive life change during this out of bounds Venus process. That can be related to anything. It could be a health change, could be a career change, it could be a locational change, could be many different things. But there's likely to be in a Venus out of bounds period some big change in the life of your partner. And I would suggest, if that's happening in your life, offer compassion, offer understanding, offer support wherever partnerships are concerned in your life. Sometimes in a Venus out of bounds period, breakups can be a result. I would need to see a person's individual chart to say whether that would be a breakup for the long term permanently, or whether there would be a getting back together. But it's Uranus Venus energy can manifest in the form of separations. So be aware if that's the case. It's part of the energy cycle that's playing out. You can be impulsive with some of your reactions in relationships, and that can damage relationships. So tread carefully, tread with kindness, tread with love when you are dealing with business partners, when you're dealing with your loved ones, as we come to the climax and the end of Out of Bounds Venus. There can be lots of sudden and fast developments, lots of ups and downs in your social life, business life, and personal relationships as a result of Out of Bounds Venus. And we might even observe that our female friends and women in our life might be more rebellious. They might be more embracing their independence, but in doing so, they could be even a bit more argumentative or sort of not looking for a fight, but just will answer back and challenge the status quo. There might even be some breakups with friendships with women that occur as a result of the Out of Bounds Venus. And you might have what we would describe as sort of a stop-start kind of a relationship with a woman, be that a friendship, be that, a family type relationship with a woman, or be it with a lover. If you get involved in... if your Venus in your natal chart is not well aspected, if it's not super healthy and well dignified, then be careful of any money-making ventures you get involved in while Venus is out of bounds, because there could be financial challenge or financial disappointment. So do get familiar with your chart, understand your dignities. If you want to do that, come and join me at the Royal Stars Academy if you want to understand your chart better and how to read it and interpret it better, and especially in terms of dignity. We look at dignity in the second level of the Royal Stars Academy, Intermediate Astrology. So join me there if you would like to know more about the strength of your planets. But just generally, for those who do know the strength of their Venus, if it is in a challenging position in your chart, then money-making ventures during an out-of-bounds Venus phase are not particularly encouraged. The final thing is that you might have noticed during this out-of-bounds Venus phase that you might have attracted some unusual people in your life who, as opposed to the kind of lovely people I met when I was at the Contact at the Cabins in Utah, as opposed to that, you might meet new people, different people from different walks of life, and unusual people who bring a negative vibe and disrupt your life. Now, again, that's dependent on the condition of your natal Venus as to the experience you'll have with new, different groups of people based on the dignity of your Venus in the natal chart. So that is my wrap-up, very quickly, of an out-of-bounds Venus and what we've been going through since the April the 14th. So now I want to move into the all signs breakdown. Remember, we've got a heavy influence of Venus this week. It is squaring Neptune, trining Neptune, and it is out of bounds. So what I want to talk about is the influence of Venus upon us in the week ahead. So there's no particular one date that we are breaking down here at the All Signs Breakdown. It's just the general vibe we're getting from Venus coming up for us in the week ahead. Now, this, in a nutshell, will be strange relationship occurrences, very unexpected, very rapid, money changes, sudden windfalls, sudden losses, women in your life being a bit unpredictable, the discovery potentially of new occult interests, higher level insights, revelations, and psychic awareness regarding Venus issues, money, materiality, relationships, your sensual side, what you do for pleasure, and generally speaking, the women in your life. So let's explore that now for everyone. And you know what? I am going to start. Who will I start with? Let's start with Aries. Let's let the first sign of the zodiac go first this week. So, Aries rising sees our Venus influence being strongly represented in the 4th house. This is the house of home, property, roots. It's the house of our parental influence, ancestors. It's a house representing our retirement years as well, our feelings, our domestic life, and how well we feel we belong and connect. Now, the fourth house is actually the strongest house placement for Venus to be in. So while Venus is transiting the fourth house, enjoy this time of beauty. Enjoy this time when you can develop more peace in your innermost world. This is Vedic astrology that says Venus is in its strongest house placement in the fourth house. For some of you Aries people, you might fall in love with somebody from your home environment during this time, somebody from your community, someone from the area in which you live, or even you might fall in love with somebody in your home. Maybe you have to ring up a tradie to come fix something for you. Lo and behold, he rocks up and he's, the hottest thing you've ever seen. And you're like, thank you, universe, especially if he's available and thinks you're a bit of all right too. So that can happen. You meet somebody in your home or in your home environment, your home community, and falling in love. Venus in the fourth house, especially while Venus is out of bounds. You might just have a general desire to connect with somebody in your world who feels familiar to you and comfortable to you in some way. Somebody who feels like home, could be a friend, could be a relative or something. You might have this desire to connect during this coming week. Venus in the fourth house can bring a great deal of love into your family and domestic environment right now. And a strong sense of stability can also be present if you seek to bring beauty into your home. So this week, buy that bunch of flowers you see at the supermarket. Instead of thinking, flowers, what a waste of money. No, bring beauty into your home wherever you can. Cook beautiful meals, maybe fluff up those cushions on the couch, whatever you need to do to bring more beauty into your home environment. It's an energy remedy, if you like, that creates more good vibes, more abundance, more a feeling of pleasure and delight in your life simply by bringing beauty into your home this week while Venus is in the realm of home. Beautify your world, and you'll actually generate a feeling of stability in your life through doing so. Some people who are Aries rising, sun or moon, might get sudden and unexpected support from family members now. Family can even do something towards increasing your own personal sense of self-value and self-worth. You might get a card in the mail, a phone call. You could get a visit from a family member who really affirms you. Something like that could happen. This is also a great transit for gardening. You might be spending money on your garden now that could really blossom and fruit for you, literally, at some point down the track. You might be also doing the same regarding your home and your domestic life, spending money on decor, spending money on good food, or also transportation is seen through this house too. Your car, your boat, your bike, those sorts of things might be where money is going. Venus is how we spend our money, and the fourth house is those things I've just mentioned. This is also the realm of the chart that has to do with our heart chakra. And Venus here, this is another reason why Venus does very well in the fourth house. Venus can open our heart chakra when she is transiting through the fourth house. So ask yourself questions pertaining to your heart. Where is your heart these days? Where is your love focused these days? Are you being fulfilled with love these days, with the love you give? Are you giving love? Do you feel like you are receiving the love that you need? This is the house, the fourth house is the house of anything heart-centered, and Venus is love. So there is this real opportunity to explore our heart, to explore what we love, and to increase that now through conscious action. Finally, this is the house of property and land development. Some of you might be seeing some sudden windfalls or opportunities or financial prospects through a home or property or land now that you might come across. Thank you, Aries. That is Venus doing great things for you in the fourth house this week. Now we're moving on to Taurus. Taurus rising, sun and moon, you have had so much action in your house, your sign lately, Taurus. Busy for the ever relaxed Taurians out there. But this week we're looking at the energy of Venus and what it's doing for us as it concludes its out-of-bound phase and makes a trine aspect to Neptune in your third house. This is the third house is the house of anything fast, and fast changes, quick thinking, is amplified now with Venus doing good things there. But the thinking, what I mean by thinking is thinking that affects our feelings. So the thought processes in the mind that then generate an emotive response is what is happening fast now. So you'll be thinking a lot about Venus things, beauty, love, romance, pleasure, indulgences, financial investments, relationships and social connections. Thinking a lot about those things, and the thought process can bring a lot of quick emotional response on those themes. This is also the house of localized travel. So you might be traveling for some sort of pleasure, some sort of delight, some sort of indulgent experience. Maybe you go on a winery tour, or you go visit a cafe in a nearby town and have a decadent high tea or something like that. Like, there is this energy of delight and pleasure and food and some sort of localized travel experience that Venus can be bringing you. The third house is also the house of people that we have not chosen to have in our lives. And we don't choose to have the siblings that we've got. We don't choose to have the neighbors that we have. That is third house. So we might be having pleasurable experiences with people that are not in our lives by choice. So there can be blessing through those types of people. And Venus makes us more socially adaptable during the week ahead as well. Yes, the third house has to do with the throat chakra and our ability to speak. And so our thoughts and our expression and our ability to use our voice is beautified. Venus can make our voice sound lovely, literally, but when it's moving through the third house, it can also give us the opportunity to speak beautiful words of upliftment and encouragement and blessing. And, you might say, well, shouldn't we be doing that all the time? Yes, we should. But our inclination to do so comes more readily and more easily when Venus is transiting through the third house. Movement is seen through the third house, and Venus is anything beautiful, anything graceful. You might be inclined to join a dance workshop or a dance class and experience the flow and the beauty of moving your body in some way. Also, whenever we have Venus in the third house, it's a dharma yoga for self-made wealth, because Venus is a planet of not great wealth. That's actually other planets in the solar system represent that, but Venus is money. So, and here in the house of our own businesses, generating money off our own skills and abilities. When Venus is here, and especially while Venus is strong and out of bounds, we can find that we're generating money through our own endeavors, our own artwork, our own writing, our own workshop leading, our own hairdressing skills, or whatever. Venus is anything, we can make money through anything that involves our own skills and talents and abilities. You'll like to think and talk and communicate for the next week or so in a way that is very Venusian, as I said. Sweet, gentle words, and being very receptive as well, and listening to what others have to say too. It's a really good placement for listening. So listen and learn this week. It's, as I said, also a placement for beautiful words. So it's good if you're in sales. Not that you're out to manipulate people, but you can seduce people with your words. You can, through your beautiful use of language this week, if you're in sales, you might find that you're just doing better than usual with the amount of product you can move. Also, you can have an increase in a desire to talk. You just want to chat with everybody. There's some weeks when I just don't want to talk to anyone. Somebody rings me on the phone and I'm just too busy to sit down and have a good old natter. This is not that week. This is the week when you're going to pick up every phone call and sit down with a cup of tea and talk for 2 hours with your best friend, or whoever's on the phone. So wanting to chat, wanting to share humorous moments, wanting to communicate and be social and bond through third house mechanisms like talking, writing emails, having intellectual conversations, sharing, as I said, humorous moments and so on. You, as I said, will also be more inclined to think about Venusian things. So your mind really turns to design, aesthetics, how to bring more harmony into your life, how to bring more peace and balance into your life, how to bring more diplomacy into every situation, how to bring more beauty. You'll be thinking about those things. How can I include it? You can also act upon it, but really your thoughts are going to be very strongly in that realm. You might be thinking about women's issues, about relationships, about nature and the value of nature. So get ready. Your mind is going down Venusian roads this week. And you can even attract more wealth into your life through this Venus placement by doing a workshop or writing a blog post, doing some sort of craftsmanship, launching a small business. Would be a good time to launch a small business if everything else in your chart is aligned while Venus is out of bounds in the 3rd house. Great time for, opening up a stall at the local market to sell all your produce and your jams and whatever else, that sort of thing. Venus is love, and you can find love through undertaking a 3rd house endeavor during this week ahead, going for a walk, taking a little weekend away, studying some new course, meeting in a small group situation or workshop, hanging out with your siblings. So if you're looking for love and everything in your chart is aligned, remember I offer a course called How to Know When Love Will Come. If you do that course, you'll know when everything's aligned in your chart for love. And if it is aligning and Venus is out of bounds here in your 3rd house, it is possible through those mechanisms to meet a partner. Venus, the 3rd house represents short-term things, not things that we do for the long haul, but sort of quick bursts. And with this placement, it might give you a short-term love affair. So, if everything else in your chart's aligning for something more long-term, that can happen. But for those of us who don't have all the planets aligning for a long-term partnership, you might have a short-term romance. Go out on a couple of dates and have a lot of fun and have a good time. Why not? If you're into producing beautiful art and drawing, if you're into, enhancing like makeup skills, that kind of thing, anything design-based, anything that has to do with, artistic endeavors in fashion and beauty can be very enhanced and can actually be a source of making money for you in the week ahead too. You might find that the company that you keep, this is a social house, can be very beautiful company. A lot more women in your environment, a lot more uplifting and enhancing conversations, beautifying, edifying conversations. Also, what you spend your money on is seen through the planet Venus, and you might be spending on 3rd house things this week. Short trips, books, magazines, workshops, subscriptions. You might be spending on advertising, on courses, on webinars. So jump on and see if you want to learn astrology and do one of my courses or my webinars while Venus is in your 3rd house. Thank you, beautiful Taurus friends. Gemini rising, Gemini sun, Gemini moon people. Well, for you guys, the energy of Venus is moving. Let me get that nice and tight there. Moving through your 2nd house here in the house governed by Cancer and whole sign astrology. And this is active the whole week ahead. Venus is a natural ruler of the 2nd house. So even if Venus is in a weak sign, as it is when it's in Cancer, when it is sitting in Cancer by transit, if it's in the 2nd house, it almost guarantees that you will experience more luxuries and more enjoyments over the course of this transit because it's the natural ruler of the 2nd house. So you might have opportunities to indulge in rich, decadent food that's finely presented, to indulge in a sweet tooth, taste for alcohol that's more sweet-based, cocktails, ciders, things like that. Things that satiate the senses, and Venus is sweet things, so sweet, sweet alcohol, sweet foods, that kind of decadent stuff. You might be enjoying more of that while Venus moves through the 2nd house. Enjoying, even if it's just window shopping, beautiful clothes, makeup, jewelry, art, music, furniture. You might be very much inclined and inspired to collect such things while Venus is transiting through the 2nd house in the week ahead, especially while Venus is out of bounds until the 1st of June. So if you are looking to add to your art collection, or you need to add something to your LP collection or something, you could go looking for it this week and pretty much find what you're after, and complete that collection or fulfill that desire for something in the material realm to add to a collection that you have. The second house has to do with collecting of things, preserving things, and hoarding, even in some circumstances when we go to an extreme. The second house has to do with money and the resources that we have in our lives that support our body's journey. With Venus here, Venus represents what we love. So you will enjoy using money for the next week ahead. You'll enjoy making it. It will bring you a lot of pleasure, and you'll enjoy spending it as well. There's a love, while Venus is in the second house, of money and utilizing it to your best advantage. You might even be able to attract beautiful things into your life and more wealth into your life while Venus is here, if Venus is strong in your natal chart. So that could be very good for hopefully most people watching this. Venus in the second house gives us a good, is transiting here. She gives a good ability for us to evaluate what is worthwhile, to evaluate what is valuable. So when we go shopping while Venus is moving through the second house, just say we're, shopping for a new couch or something like that, we can spot a bargain and we know what is worth spending our money on to get good value for money. And it's not a placement that's going to spend willy-nilly. It's a placement that says, I have good taste and I will choose something based on quality and beauty and good value. So trust your taste while Venus transits through the second house. If you're in the market for, say, any item of value, like a new car, or maybe you want to buy somebody an engagement ring or something like that, trust your taste while Venus transits through the second house. You'll know how to spot quality for a good price. The second house has to do with our value system, and Venus has to do with self-valuing and self-love as well. Venus, when it's out of bounds and got this erratic nature about her, can give sudden changes to what we value. We might have always thought, it was valuable to us to collect certain postage stamps or something. But Venus transiting out of bounds through the second house might have you completely changing how you value those postage stamps, and you're like, you know what, I'm not interested in postage stamps and collecting postage stamps anymore. Now I want to collect first edition novels. So there's a change out of the blue almost that comes to what you value, or how you value yourself in a similar way. Maybe you had a low valuation of self, and you valued your services very lowly, so you always undercharged for your services or whatever. And then there's a sudden change during Venus out of bounds, and you start to put your prices up in accordance with what you really deserve for the knowledge you've got, the skills you have, and the capabilities that you possess. So a change to value systems can often be seen as well when Venus is moving through the second house. There is also a need to focus on taking care of the self for some reason or another this week. That doesn't mean you're going to get sick or anything like that, but you might find, I'm just feeling so out of balance lately. I'm going to honor myself, and I'm going to, have a pajama day, rest, look after me. Or you might find that, I need to honor myself and take care of myself by charging more for my services, or whatever it happens to be. There is likely to be a need to take more care and honor the self in some way in the week ahead. In fact, in order to increase the money that you attract in life, Venus moving through the second house is going to make you evaluate your worth, and evaluate what you're getting paid, evaluate how you are honoring yourself in a relationship, all those sorts of things that are about self-worth and self-value. And the more that you can honor your worth and your value, the more you are likely to attract better material circumstances into your life, because Venus is in the house of self-love, self-worth, and materiality. And they go hand in hand. How we feel about ourselves attracts what we end up receiving. Never more so than when Venus transits the second house. So direct your energy now this week into seeing the beauty in yourself, loving the self, putting effort into your external appearance as well. And it will boost how you value yourself and how you draw material blessings into your life, my beautiful Gemini friends. Thank you. Now Cancer. Cancer rising, Cancer sun, Cancer moon people. Oh my goodness, guys. You have this very benevolent and very erratic, out of bounds Venus moving through your first house. So the first house, well, you are embodying Venus energy for at least the next week while Venus is out of bounds particularly. So this gracious magnetism of the goddess of love is available to you now. You have the ability now to be more charming, more likable. You can use that to your advantage. If you need to go and ask for a raise, well, hey, you've got this charisma happening with Venus in the first house to actually do that and get somewhere with it. If you need to attract people to you, you have this more likable energy that comes from a Venus in the first house transit. You might actually feel more loving, and that's sort of emanating off you as well, that vibe of, I just love the world, I feel affectionate, I feel pleasant, I feel happy, I feel diplomatic. All these Venus things start to emanate off you, and that makes people drawn to you. You know, you're like a beacon in that way while Venus moves through the house of you. Now, you'll also be very invested in Venus things for the next week as well, thinking a lot about relationships, about who you're matched with, about matching other people in your life. Venus is the matchmaker planet, the love planet. You'll be thinking a lot about how to bring more love into your life, experience more love and romance and pleasure and delight too, looking for ways to experience that in the body as well. Sometimes, Cancer friends, when Venus moves through the first house by transit, we can have strange relationship occurrences. And they usually will happen suddenly and very unexpectedly and very rapidly because Venus is out of bounds, and so that Uranus-style energy that happens when a planet is out of bounds comes in thick and fast. So a strange relationship occurrence. That now maybe you're in a relationship and something unusual happens to enhance the relationship, to electrify the relationship more, to make it more delightful and desirable. Some people might find that there might be an unexpected and rapid end to a relationship. But Venus in the first house will indicate that there might be strange relationship occurrences that are usually unexpectedly instigated by the self. You will be the one to create a different dynamic in the relationship because Venus is in the house of you and currently out of bounds. So you might not see that coming, but when it happens, you'll go, aha, Kesenya, she said this might occur. And here we are. There can be also money changes, sudden windfalls, if you've got a well-placed Venus in your chart, sudden challenges financially for those of us who have a Venus that is perhaps a little bit more weak in our chart. So money is something to keep your eye on in the week ahead while Venus is out of bounds and in the first house. But again, because it's in the house of you, money changes will usually be instigated by you. You'll be the one to perhaps apply for a new job that's suddenly going to propel you into a whole new, maybe tax bracket because you're earning so much more. A change in your material, financial situation coming from your own actions and your own activities. Now, if you're a woman listening to this, a Cancer rising sun or moon woman, be aware that you might be behaving more unpredictably, more erratically, because Venus rules women. It's in the house of you and it's out of bounds, which means erratic behavior is possible. So be kind to yourself, be gracious to yourself, knowing that if you're feeling a bit up and down, a bit sort of, emotional, it's just this cycle that you're passing through right now, and that's okay. Be kind to yourself and don't judge yourself or beat yourself up about something. Be kind to everybody around you. Don't, if you're feeling angry, don't let it lead you into a position of doing something you regret, but give yourself space to feel all the emotions, to accept how you're feeling, because that's just the Venus energy, being a little bit unpredictable, a cycle you've got to move through, that's all. Some of you, whether you're a man or a woman, might be feeling a strong pull towards some sort of new occult practice, new interests like astrology, metaphysics. You might be exploring deep ancient knowledge as well while Venus transits your first house. You might be gaining higher level insights or revelations, psychic downloads, truths revealed, especially truths revealed regarding who you are and your place on the planet, regarding money and materiality, regarding relationships and your sensual side. So you might get like a light bulb moment and aha insight. You might be being led almost as if the hand of the universe is guiding you into some new experience of your authentic self, your authentic truth, getting real with things instead of living a lie. So quite a powerful energy to be in this week, that's for sure. If you are a man with Venus transiting the house of you, the women in your life might start to behave erratically. You might be observing, hang on, what's going on with the women around here? You know, one moment they're up, the next moment they're bawling their eyes out. What's going on? Just remember, if you're a man and listening to this and you're Cancer, rising, sun and moon, the women in your world might be a little bit struggling because of an out of bounds Venus right now. Also, if you're a man, you might find that you get some sort of psychic download or revelation about an important woman in your life, or important women in your life, be that, you know, a friend, a lover, a mother, a sister. You know, some woman in your life you might get some insight, some knowledge, maybe a word of prophecy, or some wisdom for a woman in your life, or about a woman, an important woman in your life. So that is the summation for our Cancer friends. Thank you, my lovely Cancers. Now, for Leo rising, Leo sun, Leo moon people, the energy of Venus out of bounds and in strong connection with Neptune this week is influencing your 12th house. Venus is what we love and what we will enjoy. So for our Leo friends this week, you might be thinking a lot about international travel. That's a 12th house thing. You might be interested in exploring faraway places. Now, if you can't literally jump on a plane and go and do that, you might be watching a documentary about, I don't know, some faraway exotic destination. You know, you're just sort of immersing yourself in some sort of international type experience. You might be loving or enjoying some spiritual or mystical or tangible items, or a tangible mystical experience in some way. Maybe you go to a workshop or something and you do breath work and you enter into another realm or something. This is Venus bringing something that you love through some sort of spiritual activity. You might get to enjoy a beautiful hotel or resort or a restaurant or something this week with Venus moving through the 12th house and being out of bounds. You might get to enjoy some sort of highly creative environment, you know, refined art or film or music, which are all governed by the 12th house as well. You might be working on making your bedroom, which is a 12th house thing, more luxurious and more attractive. Maybe you buy a set of satin sheets or something this week, Leo, to put on the bed, because this is the realm of bedroom pleasures, and Venus is anything pleasurable and luxurious. Very nice. If you are in love, if you are in a relationship, my Leo friends, or you're wanting to win someone over, get your partner something from a faraway place. The 12th house is faraway places. Or take a partner to an exotic place. Indulge them with some sort of sacred, mystical, spiritual experience, or an object that's a mystical, spiritual type object. You might like to seduce or gift, and we know you Leos are generous people. You might like to gift your lovers or partners like a spa treatment or something that helps them escape from the everyday reality, like a night in a luxury hotel, or a massage or something like that. And if you're looking to buy for somebody who you really love, or a woman, look at things that are beautiful for the bedroom this week. Luxury bed linens, like I said, or a pretty bed lamp, that kind of stuff. Venus is what we spend our money on. Venus is women and lovers. And here in the 12th house, you can be looking at those sorts of things. I will just say, be careful while Venus transits its annual transit through your 12th house. Spending can be an issue when Venus transits the 12th house. You can lose a lot of money spending on things that help you feel good, or things that help you escape reality. There's always a danger when Venus is in the 12th house of going too far with our spending on luxuries. Sometimes though, that's one way the 12th house can manifest. Another way is that invisible forces, other realms, other dimensions, and maybe deceased ancestors, that sort of thing, might be pulling the strings to bring prosperity. Venus is money your way. So it really depends on the nature of your natal chart placement of Venus, whether it's strong or whether it's weak, how that's going to manifest. Going too far and spending too much money on indulgences, or having the ancestors sort of bring sudden windfalls and money and prosperity into your life. So depending on the nature of your natal Venus. Venus can also, when it's transiting through the 12th house, bring you money through 12th house things. You might suddenly generate an not a long-term income, but while Venus is here, you might be getting income from spirituality or creativity or imagination, from healing, from medicine, from film, from fantasy, from illusion, from something escapist, from foreign travel, from day spas, from a hospital in some way, from even a prison. These are 12th house places, these are 12th house things. And when Venus is here, you can be making some kind of income or money temporarily from those things. It's also a placement that can have you feeling very charitable, giving your money. Again, be careful not to give everything away and be left with nothing. That's a very 12th house behavior. Don't martyr yourself financially for the sake of other people, but you will be feeling like you want to donate money to some worthy cause, worthy charity to help the world, to make the world a better place. Venus rules alcohol and sugar, and the 12th house is one of the houses to do with addiction and escapism. So just be careful about drinking too much, or blowing out on a chocolate fix or something like that. Just watch out for addiction and escapism through Venus ruled things like sugar and alcohol, or spending too much money at the shops and then maxing out your credit card, which we never like doing. I was going to say, don't be too attached to spending this month. Watch your budget is perhaps how I should phrase that. Have a budget, try your best to stick to it, and then you will have no regrets once Venus moves on out of your 12th house. Now, Venus is relationships, and I do have to say, whenever Venus is in the 12th house, either in a natal chart or by transit, relationships can be difficult, because in Vedic astrology, this is the house known as the house of the enemy of marriage. It's a house where, a good astrologer would be able to assess and say, I could see maybe an affair occurring, or you might be yearning for someone that you cannot ever be with, or it can even represent someone in relationship deceiving you and pulling the wool over your eyes about something. Or you could be very unclear, this is probably more likely to be the case for most people watching this, not seeing your partner with clarity. Misleading yourself about your partner, telling yourself something when the reality is very different, having a romanticized image of what your partner is doing, or if you're single, what your dream man or woman should be like. And you can sort of lose yourself to these fantasies that are not grounded in reality. And this can lead to disappointment and disillusion, not truly knowing the current partner you're with, or understanding their behavior, or fantasizing to the extreme that it's unrealistic if you're single. So be aware of that. It's kind of a challenging placement for relationships in that sense when Venus is transiting the 12th house. We have this craving for ideal, perfected love, whether we're in a relationship or not. And of course, the reality of relationships can be a bit too much to bear and can end up being something that we may ultimately want to escape from. So better to be grounded and realistic about relationships than to sort of regret. Okay? One other thing I want to mention with Venus in the 12th house is an indicator of sacrificial love, martyrdom. And please be careful, my beautiful, generous Leos. Be careful about martyring yourself for people that you love, giving away all your money so that they'll love you, or, always burning yourself out to please someone else and them never appreciating you. I mean, nothing is worse to a Leo person than not being appreciated, not being valued. So be careful, my Leo friends. This is a placement that can see you going down the road of those behaviors and then regretting it and resenting it. Be careful, my friends. Forewarned, forearmed, and having knowledge about these things gives you power over your own behavior so that you don't do that. Finally, I will just say, some of you, if you've got all the stars aligning right now in your personal chart, you might be meeting partners in foreign places or far away from home, in a retreat, at a day spa, at a hospital, in some sort of private club, things that are not mainstream everyday places, in some sort of secret environment. You might meet somebody while Venus out of bounds in your 12th house. For a woman, if you're a woman with this placement, you might just be careful, because you might have unrealistic expectations for your own beauty. You want to look like a certain ideal, meet some fairy tale image of what beauty is, and you might spend a lot of money trying to meet high and unachievable ideals instead of practicing self-love, honoring the self, and knowing your own worth. So heads up, those can be some of the issues for our Leo friends in the coming week while Venus concludes her out of bounds phase. Alrighty. Virgo rising, Virgo sun, Virgo moon people. The energy, I'm just going to make sure you're not going to go for a walk. Oh, my Virgo Venuses are going for a walk. There we are. Virgo, Venus for you is in the 11th house, and she is out of bounds until the 1st of June, so the end of this week. So what's this going to bring you? Well, Virgo friends, this gives you the chance to enjoy being out socially. Venus in the house of social activity. Large gatherings like concerts, events, fashion shows, places where many people gather. So you will enjoy being out socially, doing Venusian things that might involve music or fashion or art with large groups of people. It's also the house of friendship. So you might find that your female friends, Venus is women, might be a bit erratic or changeable or unpredictable this week. So don't go depending too much on your friend meeting you at a certain place at a certain time if you've got this placement, this transit happening, because there can be something that puts a spanner in the works. Okay, be flexible, be open to interactions with your friends, particularly with your female friends. You might also find that there might be changes in friendship that occur this week. You might fall out with a friend, or you might meet a new friend. There can be shifts in friendship dynamics that you didn't see coming this week. You can also find that there might be changes in the fortunes of your female friends this week. They might be the ones that you notice are experiencing Venusian strong out of bounds energy in the week ahead. For example, you might be doing fine, but a girlfriend of yours, a friend of yours, might be really on the roller coaster ride with her money. And that can come about through this Venus being in the 11th house of your friends experiencing the out of bounds Venus influence. There's potential though, because this is the house of your gainfulness, there's potential to be unexpectedly gainful this week, my Virgo friends, through anything Venus based, anything that is considered beautiful and artistic, anything that's considered romantic. Also, Venus rules things like food, flowers, fashion, art, makeup, music, diplomacy. You can be gainful through anything that Venus governs this week. So keep your eye out for where little, influxes of money come from this week. And I'm sure you'll find, if you keep a record of it, that you have Venus to thank for what is flooding into your life. There can be, with Venus out of bounds, sudden and unexpected rises in your own fortune. This is the house of rewards for our own endeavors. So the endeavors you've made over your lifetime, maybe 20 years ago you published a book, well, there might be an unexpected rise in the revenue that you receive from that book you published 20 years ago somehow this week. Your endeavors can be bringing you reward with Venus moving through the 11th house and out of bounds this week. If you're involved in any stock market investments, they could pay off for you this week too with Venus out of bounds. If you have a challenging Venus dignity in your natal chart, you might find that stock prices plummet for you, stock investments plummet. It's a roller coaster depending on the quality of your natal Venus. But look, it is time when you can research investments for the long term, investments for the future. So, you might find that in the long term, things might bring you big and surprising rewards as well if you research and invest while Venus is out of bounds. If you're somebody who is involved with political systems in any way, your interaction with politics or political organizations might bring unexpected benefit too while Venus is out of bounds too. You might find that you're feeling very passionate and you want to undertake some activism on behalf of the masses while Venus is out of bounds here. Venus is the revolutionary regarding Venus issues when she's out of bounds. So Venus issues are like women's issues, women's rights, the ability for people to get a valuable, livable wage, to be able to honor themselves through just everyday life. Venus would make, out of bounds in the house of activism and revolution, could make you very passionate about those sorts of things this week. And why not? I think we should all be getting passionate about those sorts of things, for sure. The 11th house is the house of dreams and wishes, and with an out of bounds Venus this week, now is the time to be putting your longings and desires, as some practitioners say, out into the vortex. Basically, envision. Venus is in Cancer, a very imaginative, watery sign, so take the time to visualize what your dreams and wishes coming true. What does it look like if your vision board manifested? Feel into that energy, imagine it to the point where you feel like you're actually there. Envision that. And with an out of bounds Venus, the potential to bring circumstances into your life that could see your dreams and wishes come true increases. Now, I'm not going to say that everybody's vision boards are suddenly going to manifest for them, but while Venus is in the 11th house of dreams and wishes, while Venus is out of bounds, it is the time to be putting it out there to the universe through your imagination, through your envisioning processes. Now, if you are, Venus out of bounds, I should say, can bring also unexpected or changeable situations with regard to rents, royalties, salaries, and bonuses. So keep an eye on those things. Notice what changes and what happens with those things this week. You can be quite surprised in some way or another with what Venus is doing in that regard. So thank you, my beautiful Virgo friends. Moving on to our luscious, not lovely, but luscious this week, luscious Libras. What is happening for you guys? Let me get this little board all settled here. There she is. Well, for you Librans, this is a very important week because your ruling planet is Venus, and Venus is concluding her out of bounds phase. Not only that, but Venus is also making a very auspicious trine to Neptune in its own sign of Pisces. So all this week we're going to be under the strong influence of a very powerful Venus. I will point out for you Librans as well that Venus is exalted when it's in Pisces. And so with this energy from Pisces affecting Venus, and it's the ruler of your first house, you guys, take note what's going on in your life. Venus is doing amazing things for you this week. Now, what does that look like in reality? Well, there might be some relationship issues that unfold in a 10th house way. In other words, they're going to be very obvious to the world. Your good laundry and your dirty laundry relationally might be out there for the whole world to see. And hopefully it's in the more beneficial way. You might have a love relationship that is fairy tale like, and everybody sees it. Everybody knows about it. Love is out there, you're wearing your heart on your sleeve, and the whole world joins in celebrating the beauty of a love relationship. Venus is a love relationship, and 10th house is public. Of course, with such a strong Venus, it's likely to be something good for our Libran people, especially if you've got a healthy Venus in your natal chart. If you are somebody who is in a leadership position, a position where that you have a need for a social reputation, you lean on your image, your social reputation, it can grow now. You can have an easy path to social leadership, an easy experience of leadership, and an easy rise in social reputation and social growth. So make the most of this energy. If you're a Libran person, get out there with your social leadership. Get out there and build your reputation, because it will grow easily because of what you undertake during this Venus transit of your 10th house. People, the 10th house is how people perceive us. I'm noticing this more and more. I just have to give you a little anecdote. I have Neptune in my 10th house, and I just feel like the more I observe, I think people see me as a certain thing that I might not be in reality, because that's misty Neptune in the 10th house, sort of not deceiving, but just not quite grasping the reality of a person. And I just have observed that happening on occasion in my life. But back to what's happening by transit for our Libran people. Venus in the 10th house can mean that people are going to perceive you and get an idea of you that's very Venusian. You know, they might be perceiving you as charming, kind, gentle, sweet. I'm sure you all are, but more than ever this week, with an out of bounds Venus in the 10th house, that's how people are going to see you. And of course, if you have your midheaven in Cancer around the 27th degree, that's going to be more pronounced for you as well, as it conjuncts your midheaven point. Now, there might be, for some Librans, sudden changes in your notoriety, including sudden fame. Suddenly, people everywhere are talking about you. They know about you. You're popular. Now, it may not be a permanent situation of popularity, but for the duration of Venus out of bounds, it can certainly be the case. Now, Venus has been out of bounds since the 14th of April, and I've got to say, the views on my videos have been way above what they usually are. And I could probably put this down to being a Libra moon and Venus transiting out of bounds in my 10th house. That's likely to be the case as to why my videos have been so popular for the last month. Lucky me. I hope it continues. We'll see. But yes, sudden rises to fame, sudden more recognition, greater reputation, greater visibility in the world. Also, if you're looking to deal with the government or authority figures, this is a great time for applying for government permits or that sort of thing. You might have some surprising and unexpected dealings, but usually very pleasurable and positive experiences with such organizations and hierarchical institutions. It also might be a good time, depending on your natal chart, to submit applications, like for a job with a hierarchical organization or a company that, has a board of directors at the top and then plebs down the bottom, those kind of pyramid hierarchical organizations or councils or governments. It's a good time to apply for a job there if that's something you've been thinking about. Now, for our Librans, there might be also some unusual but pleasurable interactions with your father now. The 10th house is father figures, of course, and here Venus makes things pleasurable. You might be spending money, because Venus is to spend money. You might be spending money on high-end luxuries now. Just be careful of taking it too far. 10th house has to do with high-end luxuries, name brand things, Prada bags and Ferrari cars and stuff. You might be spending on all these high-end things. Just watch your budget, is all I will say. Also, there might be some surprising changes regarding your father's prosperity, your father's money in some way also that happens as a result of an out of bounds Venus in the 10th house. So my Librans, that is it in a nutshell for what this out of bounds Venus might be bringing you this week. Scorpio rising, Scorpio sun, Scorpio moon people. Well, the energy of out of bounds Venus this week, is being felt in your most blessed 9th house. So if you are a man and you're a Scorpio rising sun or moon, you might find that with Venus out of bounds in your 9th house, you're somehow attracted this week to a foreign woman, somebody from a faraway place or an exotic location, or a woman who is highly spiritual or works in academia or works in education. Or you could meet a potential lover or a woman that you're attracted to in any of those areas as well. So that's how that might possibly manifest if you are a man and you're a Scorpio. For anyone, man or woman, Venus in the 9th house can see the manifestation of spending money on 9th house things. Travel, academia, spending money exploring other cultures, whether that's exploring online through documentaries or courses and things like that, or exploring literally going to other cultures or to a restaurant for dinner in a different cultural environment than you're used to. You might be spending money on publishing now, on faith and belief-based practices or endeavors. You might be spending money in order to gain some sort of inspiration in your life. You might be spending money to study or learn something new, but usually something of a philosophical, higher-minded nature rather than something of a practical kind of workshop-y variety. Venus is what we love, and in the 9th house, while she's out of bounds, you might be experiencing the sensation of having a strong love for and a strong interest in international affairs, cultural affairs, cultural dynamics right now. You know, you might be thinking, hey, I've never been to the Brazilian Mardi Gras, the Rio de Janeiro Mardi Gras. Wow, that would be great to experience, you know, and you've never in your life thought about going to Rio de Janeiro. But under this influence of Venus, you might be thinking, oh, the costumes and the vivacity and the fun, I'm going. You know, your thoughts are going there, and you might discover a love for something like that you never even knew you had. If you're a woman, a Scorpio, rising sun or moon woman with obviously Venus moving through your 9th house, it could bring you highly intuitive insights and downloads, revelations and truths that might be revealed to you, psychic, you know, awareness regarding Venus things, money, materiality, regarding relationships, regarding what feels sensual and pleasurable and delightful to you, regarding what you love. You might get an aha epiphany moment regarding these things. You could also get aha epiphany moments regarding, well, almost anything really, just a heightened awareness, a heightened psychic sensitivity. Sudden occult downloads are possible with Venus out of bounds in the 9th house. A moment of prophecy or spiritual insight. So keep a journal this week. Write down any sort of aha moments or light bulb moments that you have. There can be a lot of signs, a lot of omens manifesting in your life. Now, don't ignore them. You know, some strange animal crosses your path and you're like, oh, I'll Google that. What does it say with that animal totem? Pay attention to those things, because the universe is speaking to you very strongly now with an out-of-bounds Venus in the 9th house. Some of you also might be discovering your truth regarding what you value. You know, this is the house of truth. This is the house of making it real, getting real with things, and Venus is what you value. So you might discover, you know, I really value, you know, family. Cancer's here, and you've never valued family in your life. You're a businesswoman or a businessman and had no time for family, and then suddenly Venus out of bounds in your 9th house of Cancer, and you're like, you know what? Family's where it's at. Connection with, you know, my ancestors, connection with my mum and dad, connection with my children. I've got to put more emphasis there. Discovering your truth. That's just an example, but it could be anything. Discovering your truth regarding your moral stance on something or your ethical stance on something. There could be some big changes coming your way as a result of this. Also, there could be big changes regarding your vision for the future while Venus is out of bounds. You might refine your vision for the future. Venus is refined things. You might develop a more beautiful picture in your mind of what you want to achieve, where you want to be, where you're heading in the future. So you can really, you know, hone in on the fine detail and get succinct about what you want the future for you to look like, my beautiful Scorpio friends. So my Sagittarius rising sun and moon friends, well, for you guys, this is a very interesting placement of Venus as she transits through. Oh, you're going to sit there for me. Thank you, Sagittarius. As she transits through your 8th house, Cancer. Venus is out of bounds until the 1st of June, but she's been out of bounds since the 14th of April, so quite some time. So you might have noticed what I'm going to talk about has already been manifesting in your life, but she's wrapping things up regarding her out of bounds cycle this week. So the 8th house represents occultists, people who practice occult mysticism, mystical practices of all sorts. And of course, there's many modalities that fall under that topic. Astrology is one. But Venus is females. So expect, Sagittarius friends, that some sort of female occult practitioner might bring you a powerful message this week, if they haven't already done so since the 14th of April. Why am I October? Sorry about that. So there could be some powerful message from an occultist who is a woman. Not only that, but if you are a woman and you're a Sagittarius rising sun or moon, you might be very inspired to do a deep dive into some sort of occult practice yourself. Shamanism, alchemy, astrology, psychology, energy healing. You might be going in really deep with it. And certainly, why not? It can be very, very empowering for you to do so. Now, if you are a man and you're a Sagittarius rising, sun or moon, you might be inspired to connect with some woman or begin a relationship of some description with some woman who is interested in those things. You might be beginning a relationship with an astrologer or an energy healer or a psychic. Venus is women in the house of occult practices. And for a man, Venus in even transiting in a man's chart can indicate what they're going to be attracted to and who they are looking to connect with in a relational sense. So that can be the case. It's a great energy for our Sagittarius friends, all men, all women who are Sagittarius rising sun and moon, to engage in tantric experiences, sex practices that lift you up to a higher spiritual dimension and give you that sense of ecstasy and connection with the divine realm. And of course, sex has been used in that way for thousands of years. It's only probably in the last, I would say, 1,000 years, maybe 2,000 years, that sex and sexual practices have been demonized to be something dirty instead of the beautiful, holistic and spiritual practice that they are. So great for the body, great for the mind, great for the spirit and for the soul to engage in some of these higher level sexual practices. So for you Sagittarian people, Venus in the house of sex can really bring a heightened appreciation of those things this week, or heightened knowledge of the hidden wisdom behind sexual and tantric practices. Also, you might personally, Sagittarius, have a heightened personal sexual magnetism and sexual aura now. You could be very attractive, so you could use that if you wanted to your advantage. Always be kind, remember that. But if you want to, let's say you're lead singer of a band and you want to put out this sexy vibe, why not use this energy this week to record your film clip for your band, because you're going to be tapping into that Venus out of bounds energy in the 8th house. I will say, when Venus is out of bounds and erratic and wild in the 8th house, of psychology and psychological games, be careful of psychological games in relationships. This is the shadow side of this energy. People trying to control you and manipulate you through sex, through relational circumstances in some way. So forewarned, forearmed, and knowledge is power, my friends. We can sometimes see, while Venus is out of bounds in the 8th house, that love triangles can occur in some instances. You might also attract a secret admirer if you are a Sagittarius person. Worst case scenario, again, the shadow side could be stalkers that make life a bit uncomfortable for you. Hidden relationships can also begin while Venus is in one of these hidden houses. Hidden houses are actually the 12th house and the 8th house, sometimes the 4th house as well. But yes, while Venus is out of bounds in a hidden house and Venus rules relationships, a hidden relationship can also sometimes begin. If it does, it will happen suddenly and unexpectedly, and you would of course need indicators of that occurring in your own natal chart. This is one of the houses of prophecy or awareness and consciousness, so you might get some sudden insights, sudden downloads that raise your consciousness in some way, that open your awareness, that awaken you. I mean, look at what's happened over the last 3 years, 4 years in the lives of many people on Earth. There's been difficulties and challenges have raised our consciousness and awaken us to what's really going on behind the scenes. And so this is a house of those sorts of things. It's a house of conspiracy theories in one sense, but it's also the house of hidden knowledge, understanding what is happening behind the scenes. And Venus out of bounds here can give you a raising consciousness regarding those things, particularly relating to women's issues, sex, and how people use love and manipulate through love and so forth. Venus issues. You could have sudden changes, including sudden windfalls through finances, sudden changes through love, or sudden new experiences of the luxuries of life, and sudden changes to your own personal stability that occur while Venus is out of bounds. Now, remember that Venus has been out of bounds since the 14th of April, so it's likely you would have experienced these sudden, shocks at some point since the 14th of April. But if not, then this could be wrapping up for you to experience. This energy is wrapping up, and you might experience it in the week ahead. Possible windfalls now with an out of bounds Venus, especially if Venus is well placed in your natal chart. It could look like sudden opportunities for moral or emotional support as well, where you thought you were all on your own and all of a sudden someone comes in to bat for you, someone makes life work better for you. Could look like that. This is the house of the resources of other people supporting your life, so Venus can bring that in. For some people, they might be experiencing a form of liberation from material attachments during this time. And if that is what's happening, it's designed to deepen your consciousness. You walk away from the need for material goods or the need for a certain material standard of living, and you're like, you know what, I just trust you, universe. I don't need to strive for that. I don't need to put emphasis on having the 2.5 kids with the white picket fence and the big mortgage and whatever. No, I want to deepen my consciousness, so I'm liberating myself from material attachment. Some of you Sagittarius rising, sun or moon people might be doing that during this out of bounds Venus phase as well. For some Sagittarius rising people, this is the house of hiding money, because it's a hidden house, and Venus here might be seeing you hide money, stashing things away, stashing material goods into secret business alliances are also possible. So that's another way that this energy can manifest. There is a shadow side to this. I've already sort of touched on that a little bit, but be very careful from attacks from women, especially spiritual attacks that you might not be aware of. That's the kind of attacks we can get with the 8th house. I would encourage you to put spiritual protections in place, such things as visualizing every morning as you wake up a force field around you, so that you're energetically, held by, I like to think of the wonderful cartoon, The Incredibles, that my children really loved when they were little, and how Violet Incredible had this force field that she could manifest to sort of ping off any arrows or bullets or whatever else that were coming her way. And that's what we can do imaginatively, and visualizing this force field around us that protects us from spiritual attacks, from people sending us bad juju, bad vibes, or praying against us. We can do that. And I would encourage you, Sagittarius people, to do that for the remaining week, because you might be under attack from women, Venus, in the 8th house. You might also, Sagittarius rising, sun or moon people, be seeing the hidden truth regarding some women in your life, because remember, the 8th house is hidden truths and Venus is women. So the truth about women that you're close to, the truth about women in your life, might be being revealed to you under this transit of Venus, at least for the next week. Thank you, Saggy friends. Okay, Capricorn rising, sun and moon people. We are seeing, if you're Capricorn rising, sun and moon, you are seeing the energy of Venus out of bounds affecting your 7th house. Not only that, but Venus is trining beautiful Neptune in Pisces as well. So that's a lovely energy. So we're more likely to see the positive expressions of Venus, even though they're somewhat erratic this week. So we might be enjoying more socializing with our partner. Now, my best friend is a Capricorn rising, and I happen to know that that's exactly what she's doing in the week ahead. She's taking time out to enjoy her wedding anniversary with her partner, enjoying some pleasures and luxuries and a little getaway. So this is the kind of thing. Now, not everyone's celebrating their wedding anniversary, but I just love how the cycles of astrology play out so real in the lives of myself, my family, and my friends. So you might be socializing in a beautiful, enjoyable, pleasurable way with your partner. Now that can be your marriage partner or a relational partner of some sort, but it could also be with a business partner. You might be going to a very long, enjoyable business lunch with a partner, socializing now. That could be most enjoyable for you too. If you're single, and you've got this transit Capricorn happening in your 7th house, you might have a sense that Venusian things, beauty, love, money, are somehow far away from you at the moment. Why do you feel that way? I'll tell you why. Because this is the house of you, the 1st house, Capricorn, and what's opposite that? Cancer. Everything that is far away from who you are. So first house is you, seventh house is other people. Seventh house is things that are, belong to others, so to speak, that you don't have. Like, you are not someone else, you are you. So I hope you're following my drift here. So when we have a planet in the seventh house by transit in this way, it can actually indicate that you feel like the things of that planet are far away from you at this time. Now, if that makes you sad, remember that it's just an energy and it will pass soon enough. Venus will very soon be leaving Cancer and moving into Leo. She's also going to finish being out of bounds and sort of giving her highly erratic energy to the seventh house by the 1st of June. So the good thing, though, I'll point out, is that the seventh house is what we attract from others. It's like the mirror to ourselves. So it can therefore mean you will be attracting Venusian things, not that you're generating them yourself in your life, but attracting them from other people. So you go out for lunch with a friend, and maybe you're a bit tight on money and you can't afford to, have the porterhouse steak, and you're just going to have the soup instead. And your friend says, hey, don't worry about that. I'll pay for you. It's my shout. And you attract that good blessing from a friend. So you may not have the money. You may not have, the ability to pay for that fine high-end dining, but your friends, other people who aren't you, do. And that's what you might be attracting. People paying for your delightful porterhouse steak lunch, or people saying, let me shout you those shoes for your bridesmaid's outfit. That's my pleasure. People who are generous with you, that's what you can be attracting. So what a lovely energy in that sense. Now, again, if you're single and you have Venus, if you're a Capricorn rising sun and moon, you have Venus transiting through the seventh house. If you're single, you might meet somebody while Venus is out of bounds in the seventh house, a partner that makes you feel more beautiful, more appealing, more attractive. And that's what a lovely thing to experience. Or you might just encounter a client, because the seventh house is also clients and our audience, people who make us feel more beautiful, attractive, and appealing. If you're in a happy relationship, then it's also possible that your partner is making you feel more happy, loved, and beautiful during this out of bounds transit until the 1st of June as well. Now, if you're not in a happy relationship, Venus out of bounds in the 7th house can actually spell a sudden change. Your partner might begin acting irrationally, or might begin acting out of character, or they may suddenly require freedom in their lives. Freedom to go where they want and do what they want with whoever they want, and they don't care what you think. So there could be some erratic behavior coming or exhibiting in your partners, particularly if you're in a relationship that's a bit fractious as it is. There could be big changes in the life of your partner. They might be going through some upheavals and some alterations in their life. That could be pertaining to career or finances or anything really. There could be breakups in relationship while Venus is out of bounds in the 7th house. Inconsistency in love that leads to separations. For some people, depending on your natal chart, but for some people there is also the possibility that cheating might manifest too. Now, that's usually the case if there is an indication of cheating by partners, or if Venus is very poor, very lackluster in your chart. While Venus is out of bounds by transit in the 7th house, that difficult Venus energy in your natal chart kind of gets activated in the realm of relationships, okay? So remember, if that is occurring and you're feeling that sense, be kind to yourself. Know that it's a cycle and it will pass and it's not forever. Act as, responsibly and maturely in those circumstances as you are able to. Keep your karma clean, in other words. But there could be also lots of sudden and fast developments in relationship, lots of ups and downs in relationships, but also in your social life, business life, or your personal relationships as well. You might find, and this can always be a little bit difficult, that, partners, Venus, when she's out of bounds, is very extravagant or can be extravagant with spending. And because it's in the house of partners, you might find that your partners can be financially indulgent to the point of frustration, where you're like, oh my goodness, you've maxed out the credit card again. What are we going to do? I'm sick of, always having to pay this back or whatever. So be conscious, my Capricorn, rising sun and moon friends, of partners being a bit financially irresponsible. Business deals, agreements, contracts, and alliances with women can happen while Venus is out of bounds in the 7th house. You might find that opportunities for such things come out of the blue and most unexpectedly for you, and that's really, that's great. If you've got a strong, healthy Venus in your natal chart, you can absolutely pursue those opportunities. If you're looking for work, Venus out of bounds can be great, actually really, really good for getting a job that will bring you good money, a good income, good business results. So that can be positive if you are looking for work, and you might meet the right people at the right place at the right time to help set you up with work as well. Thank you, my Capricorn rising sun and moons. Now, Aquarius rising sun and moon people. The energy of Venus is influencing out of bounds and trine to Neptune, influencing you in your 6th house. Now, if you'll bear with me, I also want to switch on my lights because it's getting very dark in here. Thank you, Aquarius. I think that's better. So unfortunately for some people, this is a transit that might bring broken promises or contracts or relationships. So again, we've got a challenging placement, even though a trine to Neptune is positive. So you will get support from the divine, from the other realms, but that Venus out of bounds is erratic and can give unexpected results in the house to do with broken promises and contracts. So this is the 12th house from the 7th. 7th house is contracts and promises. The 12th house means to dissolve contracts and promises. So that's why that is the case. So for some of you, relational contracts, financial contracts might be dissolving under this influence of Venus out of bounds, and most unexpectedly so. Be careful there. For some people, beginning a new relationship with this placement is something to be a bit careful of. If you fall in love under an out of bounds Venus in the 6th house transit, then the relationship is likely to be somewhat imbalanced in terms of self-worth or finances or the love given and the love received, because this is a house of imbalance. It's a house that we're trying to put things to right and we're trying to perfect things in, but the reason we're doing that is because they're not right, they're not perfected. So if you begin a Venus, something to do with Venus energy, such as a relationship, while Venus is out of bounds in the 6th house, it can indicate that the relationship might be imbalanced for the duration of that relationship. So do be careful, my beautiful Aquarian friends, regarding who you start a relationship up with now. Do your due diligence, or maybe if you want to, postpone becoming an official couple until after the out of bounds Venus period is over on the 1st of June. Now, or even wait until Venus moves into Leo, just to be even more sure that it's going to be a beautiful relationship going forward. One thing that Venus in the 6th house can bring is a critical partner. So that's never pleasant, something we don't like to experience. We want someone who's got our back, I think I was watching Modern Family the other day, and a saying Gloria shared was, we want a partner who's the wind behind our back rather than the spit in our face. And that's what we want. But when someone's criticizing us, I guess it can feel a lot like someone's spitting in our face. We don't want that. But this is an energy that might bring somebody like that into your life, someone who's criticizing you, someone who's never happy with you. So look, I could say be careful about starting a relationship while an out of bounds Venus is in the 6th house. But truth be told, just hold off for a week or two until Venus is in Leo, and then you're fine. Go for it. You'll have a much better chart for the beginning of your relationship if you can just hold on for a couple of weeks. Now, let's talk about a few other things to do with Venus here in the 6th house, out of bounds. So you might compromise your nervous system with some stressful relationships if you are in a relationship. So if you're in a relationship and it's proving to be stressful for you, it could have a toll on your health. Stress-induced relational circumstances could lead you to, emotional eating, especially with Venus, the sweet tooth in the house of diet here. So again, be very careful of that. I would also suggest that you could be very impulsive with your partners, and that could lead to problems. This is a house of problems due to your impulsive behaviors. So again, knowledge is power. Assess how you're behaving, assess what you're saying, so that you can, tread carefully and take your time with things rather than bowling in holus bolus and then regretting things later on. There can be sort of lots of sudden and fast developments and ups and downs in your social or business or personal relationships while Venus is here as well. One thing though is work. This is the house of work, your daily work, what we do to pay the bills. That's a different thing in astrology to your career. Career is 10th house, but paying the bills, doing that mundane, ordinary job that so many of us have to do to pay the bills is seen through the 6th house. And while Venus is out of bounds here, you might find that your ability to pay the bills goes through a bit of a roller coaster ride, or the income you're getting from your daily work is a bit erratic perhaps. So just know this energy will end soon enough. Coming up to the next week when Venus moves into Leo, that could conclude. That roller coaster ride you might have been on can stop, and you might get more stability with your financial income that helps you pay the bills and put food on the table. A really positive way this energy can manifest, and you're probably like, yeah, thank God, Kesenya, it's about time you gave us some good news. But a positive way that an out of bounds Venus in the 6th house can manifest is that new relationships that have begun, like if you've already started a relationship while Venus is out of bounds in the 6th house, you can work well together. You can do, like, it doesn't mean that you've got to go and have the same job, but it could mean that you decide you're going to work on doing an art exhibition together. Some sort of sacred work, like art that you love, or you're flipping houses together or something. Some work that you both love to do can come into alignment with one another, with a partner, and that's actually the highest manifestation of this energy. Venus out of bounds in the 6th house can bring you a partner who you can work with to fulfill your sacred work or your heart's desire regarding what you contribute to the world. So, if that's creating an art exhibition, if it's flipping houses to make the world more beautiful, one home at a time, one garden at a time, fantastic. Then the partnership is actually on solid ground. So if you've started a relationship prior to this video and you've got this placement by transit going on, know that if you work together with your partner, it's going to create a solidness and a strength to the relationship that would might otherwise see the relationship dissolving if that wasn't there. Hope that makes sense. You can attract some unusual people into your workspace, so you might find that you're working with very quirky people now in your working life. Unusual people. Be very, as I said before, be very careful of your diet. I'd really be careful of the sweet tooth indulgences and alcohol indulgences as well, especially if you're prone to self-soothing with food. So just be careful, my Aquarius people. Your health and well-being, as well as your money from your everyday work, I would say, are very tied to your sense of self-worth now. So really work hard on avoiding all self-criticism. If you find yourself beating up on yourself in your head and your mind with your self-talk, then have strategies to deal with that. Maybe journal about that sort of thing, or write yourself a love letter. Do things to help boost your sense of self-worth and self-value during the coming week, and you will find that the money that you attract into your life will be more stable, more positive. You'll have less inclination to self-soothe because of a low sense of self-worth, self-soothe with food or alcohol and that kind of thing. So really a lot of our well-being issues financially and emotionally and so forth are very tied to self-worth. So while Venus is transiting through the 6th house. So honor your sense of self now, and everything else will start to balance out for you. So another thing you can do to remedy that would be to help other women. Venus is women in the house of, this is a very service-oriented house. So if you can look to give service to women in need in your community or your environment, or people that you know, women that you know, then especially younger women, Venus is younger women, then that can be an antidote to some of the more negative things I've talked about with this transit for my Aquarian friends. So look for ways to help, to heal, to serve younger women, and then you'll start to see the manifestation of the positive qualities of Venus in your life rather than these challenging things that I've talked about. And don't worry, within a week or so, Venus is going to be out of there, my beautiful Aquarian friends. And finally, my Pisces rising, Pisces sun, Pisces moon people. Thank you, my Pisces lovelies, for waiting until the end, as I'm sure you're very used to doing if you're a Pisces. We are seeing some good stuff, I have to say, Pisces, because Venus is in out of bounds condition in one of the luckiest houses in the horoscope, the 5th house. This is one of the houses of good karma. Even if an out of bounds Venus is an energy filled with surprises and unexpected shocks, this is a house of creative intelligence. So while Venus is here, and out of bounds, we're going to have a great level of intelligence with art, design, and beauty. Also, occult topics could be, we might have a lot of creative downloads and creative insights about occult topics while Venus transits through the 5th house. Great place for Venus to be in the 5th house. Our ability to feel love is also greatly enhanced while Venus moves through the 5th house. We feel love deeply, not only for our partners and for more romance in our life, but for other women. We feel a great deal of love for other women in our life. We feel a great deal of joy in life in general. Venus out of bounds, giving a strong strength to the 5th house energy. We feel a deep love for the whole world sometimes. In Pisces, we know you like that. You're all about, the ideal for how life could be lived here on Earth, and you're going to feel a deep love for humanity with Venus moving here through the house of joy. You can attract a lot of pleasure into your life right now, Pisces. More glamour, we know you love that. More glitterati, more romance, more dates. Going out there and having fun can just be, happening more frequently than usual while Venus moves through this area of the chart and out of bounds. Some of you Pisces people, I have to forewarn you, might be feeling a bit like the playboy or the playgirl right now. So, if you're in a situation where you can do that without hurting or harming another, go for it, have fun. But, you are compassionate Pisces. We know that you're not going to be out there, breaking hearts wherever you go. Now, if you are somebody, a Pisces rising sun or moon person who has fans or followers, you might be receiving a lot of love, a lot of generosity, and even material favors, Venus rules those things, from your fans and your followers now. So bless you, Pisces, if that's what you're experiencing. Enjoy that momentum, that energy as you deserve. It would even be a good time because of that to launch a Patreon page or some opportunity for your fans and followers to put their money where their mouth is and give you that material financial support and financial love. Here we are, Venus in the 5th house for Pisces people. You might find also that you might become involved in some sort of unusual romance situation, a romantic relationship. Because what is the 5th house? It's our romantic dating life. And here is Venus, the planet of love and romance, in the house of romance. So double whammy for my beautiful Pisces friends of experiencing love and romance, being loved up, being treasured, being cherished. Who wouldn't want that? Yay, Pisces. You could also find that taking a financial risk could make you good money. This is the house of luck, lucky opportunities, and it's the house of taking a risk. And here's Venus, the planet of money, out of bounds in this house. So new financial ideas, creative financial insights, taking a financial, step forward can see it really, really pay off for you while Venus is out of bounds, Pisces. If you have assets, some of you might see the value of your assets actually skyrocket during this out of bounds period. So that can be great if you're somebody who's got not so much investments, but just things of value. Venus is things of value, and this is a house of sudden, opportunities. If you work in Venus industries, fashion, beauty, hairdressers, makeup artists, anything design, architecture, that kind of thing, then you might find that you might have sudden blessings come your way, sudden opportunities for more creative output, more collaborations that come your way that are going to be for the greater good. So if you're in a Venusian industry, it could go very well for you. I feel that a lot of you Pisces people are going to have some very happy times with friends, particularly female friends. And that might be something out of the blue, something unusual, but fun, socializing with a sort of an unusual group of female friends. Certainly I had a girlfriend around for dinner the other night, and we just had the best time. And it was like almost an unusual energy that I wasn't familiar with. We always have a good time when we get together, but this was a whole other level. And I guess I can thank Venus out of bounds for that one. If you, again, are working in a Venusian sort of design industry, you might break the mold with what you're doing. You might sort of go beyond your usual capacity. Venus is out of bounds after all, and do something really, over and above your usual standard of work that could see you having great success and even achieving fame, because this is the house of celebrity. So if you're in a Venusian industry, you could really hit the big time. Some of you, particularly if you've got the potential for that in your natal chart. Some of you might find that an exciting woman comes into your life, maybe as a friend or as a lover, that both things are possible, but they bring blessing into your life. They bring benevolence, they bring opportunity into your life. You could be attending some social events. This is this is going out and being at the center of things, is fifth house energy. And so you might be invited to attend a social event, and you find you're at the center of things, or the social event, is at the center of town, or the center of the arts movement, or a musical subculture. This event is like the center of this musical subculture, and you get involved in whatever it is that's the center of something, the pivot point of something. You can be very magnetic to other people while Venus is moving through the fifth house. And for those of you who are in a loving relationship, you might find Venus out of bounds in the fifth house of love progresses your relationship to a whole new level. Instead of just dating, all of a sudden you move in together. And that, I can relate to that. You are taking your relationship to a whole new paradigm when Venus is in the house of love and is out of bounds. And finally, I'll just conclude, because I think I've already touched on this, but in case I haven't, it can bring you windfalls. It can bring you financial and material benefits that you didn't see coming, that came out of left field, and lo and behold, you are set up financially, because this is a house of blessing, but it's also a house of taking a risk and receiving reward. This is also a financial house in astrology. There are 4 of them. Some people think there's 5. There are 4 main ones. Fifth house is one of the financial houses. So with Venus, the planet of money, in an out of bounds state there, you could actually do very well with your finances and have some sort of sudden windfall. I hope that's the case for all you beautiful Pisces people watching this video. So thank you one and all for joining me for this Astro Weather Report. As I said, it's lovely to be back with you, and I do hope you'll join me next week when we explore the astrological skies together once again.